Meaningful work is an important part of civilian reintegration. Employment provides income, but it can also create opportunities for purpose, stability, social connection, and long term participation in civilian life. At the same time, finding meaningful employment depends on much more than an individual's qualifications. Throughout this story, we'll explore how employers, organizational practices, workplace culture, and recognition of military experience can either create barriers or expand opportunities for veterans after service. Meaningful work represents the outcome that is explored throughout this story, but rather than placing the sole focus on whether veterans are employed, this model considers participation in work that aligns with a person's skills, strengths, interests, and goals. The pathways leading to meaningful employment begin long before a job offer is made, and they continue long after someone enters the workforce. Veterans leave military service with extensive leadership experience, technical expertise, teamwork, adaptability, and problem solving skills. However, these experiences do not always align or translate easily into civilian language. The ability to communicate military experience in ways civilian employers recognize can influence access to employment opportunities and help organizations better understand the strengths veterans bring to the workforce. Even though veterans possess valuable qualifications, employers may misunderstand how military experience applies to civilian work. These misconceptions can arise from unfamiliarity with military occupations, assumptions about service members, or difficulty interpreting military credentials. As a result, veterans may encounter additional barriers when seeking employment opportunities that match their abilities. Employer perceptions directly influence how hiring systems are designed. When organizations fail to recognize military experience, recruitment processes may unintentionally create barriers through job descriptions, credential requirements, screening practices, or assumptions about candidate fit. These barriers can reduce opportunities before a veteran's qualifications are ever fully considered. Organizations can play an important role in reducing those barriers. As we'll talk about next, inclusive institutional and organizational practices may help employers better understand military experience, recognize transferable skills, and create pathways that support veteran recruitment, hiring, and retention. However, research suggests that many organizations struggle to define what veteran inclusive practices actually look like in practice. When recruitment systems fail to recognize military experience, veterans may encounter fewer pathways to jobs that align with their skills, experience, and career goals. Conversely, hiring practices that recognize those transferable skills and actively include veterans can expand access to meaningful employment opportunities, creating the foundation for financial stability, career growth, and continued civilian integration. Importantly, employment can provide benefits that extend beyond income alone. Health insurance, retirement plans, paid leave, educational assistance, and professional development opportunities can strengthen financial security while supporting long term health and well being. These benefits may also create additional opportunities for continued career growth over time. One example of these benefits is employer sponsored health insurance. For many veterans and their families, employer sponsored coverage can complement existing healthcare resources and expand access to preventive care, behavioral health services, and other healthcare needs. Stable access to healthcare may also support continued participation in work and community life. Reinforcing Loop R7 illustrates how organizations that recognize military experience can create pathways that strengthen workforce participation over time. As veterans gain employment opportunities, they gain access to workplace benefits, training, and professional development. These experiences strengthen workforce aligned skills, making it easier to communicate military experience in civilian settings and increasing opportunities for future employment. Over time, these reinforcing relationships help expand access to meaningful work and continued career development. Creating opportunities for veterans extends beyond recruitment and hiring. Organizations can intentionally build workplace and educational environments where military experience is understood, respected, and supported. These efforts may include veteran employee resource groups, mentorship, onboarding programs, supervisor training, and policies that help veterans successfully transition into civilian organizations. When veterans feel welcomed and valued, belonging, engagement, and long term retention may improve. Supportive workplace cultures are built intentionally. Training helps supervisors, faculty, managers, and staff better understand military experiences, service related transitions, and the strengths veterans bring to civilian organizations. As understanding grows, organizations may become better equipped to communicate effectively, reduce misconceptions, and provide support that meets veterans' needs throughout their careers. Cultural competency reflects an organization's ability to understand military culture, recognize veteran experiences, and respond in ways that support meaningful participation and success. Rather than viewing military service through stereotypes or assumptions, organizations begin to recognize the diversity of veteran experiences and the many strengths veterans contribute. As cultural competency increases, so can broader understanding of veteran experiences. Employers, educators, community organizations, and healthcare systems may become better able to recognize military service as an asset rather than a barrier. These shifts in understanding can influence organizational decisions, workplace culture, and the opportunities available to veterans across many sectors. When employers recognize leadership, technical expertise, teamwork, adaptability, and problem solving developed during military service, they may be more likely to identify veterans as strong candidates for employment and advancement. Recognition represents an important step toward translating military experience into meaningful civilian opportunities. Reinforcing Loop R8 illustrates how organizations can intentionally strengthen inclusion over time. As organizations improve their understanding of veteran experiences, they become more likely to recognize veteran skills and capabilities. This recognition encourages inclusive organizational practices, which help build veteran friendly workplace cultures. Continued staff training strengthens cultural competency, leading to even greater understanding of veteran experiences and reinforcing this cycle. Over time, organizations become increasingly capable of recruiting, supporting, and retaining veteran employees. Importantly, these two reinforcing loops work together to shape access to meaningful employment. R8 focuses on how organizations build that understanding, recognition, and inclusive workplace culture. Those organizational changes then reduce barriers and improve recognition of veteran strengths. R7 shows how those changes translate into opportunities for employment, professional development, workplace benefits, and continued career growth. Together, these reinforcing processes suggest that meaningful employment depends not only on the skills veterans possess, but also on the systems and institutions that recognize, support, and create opportunities for those strengths to flourish. This story highlights an important opportunity for communities and organizations. Veterans bring valuable leadership, resilience, technical expertise, and adaptability skills developed through military service. Expanding opportunity often begins with recognizing those strengths rather than focusing on perceived barriers. Communities can support veteran success by investing in staff training, reducing misconceptions about military experience, strengthening inclusive hiring practices, and creating workplace cultures where veterans feel welcomed and supported. As organizations become more veteran inclusive, they help create pathways to meaningful employment, long term career success, and successful civilian reintegration. As we continue through the stories, we'll see that organizations are part of a broader system shaping veteran employment outcomes. As you listen, consider where your organization has opportunities to recognize military experience, reduce barriers, and expand pathways to meaningful work. The relationships we've explored throughout this story ultimately converge on participation in meaningful work. Access to meaningful employment is influenced by individual skills, employer understanding, organizational practices, workplace culture, and opportunities for continued growth. When these conditions align, veterans are better positioned to find work that supports financial stability, professional development, and meaningful participation in civilian life. Meaningful work and wealth can play an important role in identity reconstruction following military service, as we discussed in Story 1. Meaningful employment can create opportunities to rediscover a sense of purpose, contribution, achievement, and routine. For many veterans, this may help bridge military and civilian identities by creating new ways to contribute, serve, and participate in community life. As purpose and connection grow, long term engagement in civilian life may also strengthen. Reinforcing loop R6 illustrates this. Participation in meaningful employment contributes to a stronger sense of identity and purpose. As veterans gain confidence, build relationships, and develop new civilian career navigation skills, they may become better positioned to pursue and sustain meaningful employment opportunities. Over time, purpose, engagement, and workforce participation reinforce one another, supporting long term civilian reintegration. This story has highlighted three important insights. First, meaningful work provides much more than income. It can support purpose, identity, stability, social connection, and long term participation in civilian life. Second, employment outcomes are shaped not only by veteran skills and experiences, but also by employers, organizations, and institutions that recognize and support those strengths. Finally, employment, organizational inclusion, and personal well being reinforce one another over time. By creating veteran inclusive workplaces and recognizing military experience as an asset, communities can expand opportunities that strengthen long term reintegration and overall well being. But meaningful work does not exist in isolation. In our final story, we'll explore how employment interacts with healthcare, housing, financial stability, social connection, and other community supports, ultimately revealing how these interconnected systems work together to influence long term veteran well being.